morning. It is a wet Friday morning from the nation's capital, Monrovia. Welcome to News Net on OKFM 99.5. My name is Trokon Freeman presenting our top stories this morning. President Weah to dedicate 2 annexes to the capital as government releases calendar of events for Liberia's 171st Independence Anniversary celebrations, while officially announcing Minister Samuel Toy as orator. MOE relaxes no graduation for students failing wax regulations, mandates school principals to proceed with the graduation of all students who sat wax irrespective of success or failure in the exams. Now, men of integrity, the Senate Committee on Lands, Mines and Energy recommends for confirmation Lucas Board Chair Designate Councillor Charles Gibson, whose nomination was withdrawn due to integrity issue. 419 deal. Representative Yeke Koluba describes Eton loan deal while accusing government of funding senatorial hope for Sir Joseph's campaign from state resources. And away from Liberia, U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed to help end vicious and violent conflicts on the African continent. The details of these stories and other developments, including the news bulletin, are packaged in today's presentation of the program. Stay with us for the rest of the time. Many thanks for rejoining the program. Augustine Bill Collins has the basis for this presentation with the news bulletin. Augustine, good morning.
Good morning, Trokon. Good morning, everyone. The government of Liberia has released a calendar of events for Liberia's 171st Independence Anniversary celebrations. According to Jarvis Witherspoon, activities marking the official celebrations of the Independence Anniversary will begin on Thursday, July 19, 2018. The theme for this year's celebration is Unifying the Nation for Progressive Development. Ambassador Witherspoon said, as part of the activities, President George Weah is expected to dedicate projects in Montserrat County, including the dedication of the 2 Capitol building annexes. Witherspoon added that President Weah is expected to also launch the new postal strap for the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications. At the same time, Liberia's Scotch Road Ambassador Julie Andy has said this year's Independence Day celebration will kick off with a Golden Image Award and dinner. Julie Andy said international guests from Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, Europe, and the United States are expected to grace the occasion. Education Minister Ansu Sonin has described the current condition of the education sector as a crisis that requires immediate intervention. Speaking at a news conference in Monrovia Thursday, Minister Sonin said the government's decision to administer WATS was on the basis of decision made by the immediate past administration. According to Minister Sonin, decision made regarding senior students that failed WATS to repeat does not apply to students that sat the exams this year. He urged the principals of various schools across the country to proceed with the graduation ceremonies of all 12 graders who sat WATS in May, irrespective of success or failure. At the same time, Minister Soning has disclosed plans by the government to construct laboratories in public schools and revisit the curriculum to enable students select subjects of interest so as to avoid mass failure. Minister Soni indicated that for 2019-2020, students failing WAS will be required to sit the private candidate examinations, while during the 2020-2021 school year, students failing the exams will be subjected to go back to school and repeat the 12th grade. The Senate Committee on Lands, Mines and Energy has recommended for confirmation Nokai Board Chair Designate Councillor Charles Gibson. Councillor Gibson was earlier nominated to the position of Justice Minister by President George Weah, but the nomination was withdrawn due to integrity issues. Reading the committee's report during plenary discussion Thursday, the committee said it was pleased with the qualification of the man who failed the integrity check to head the board of the National Oil Company of Liberia, NOCA. Montserrat District 10 Representative Yaka Koluba has described the Elton loan deal as a 419 agreement. Speaking via mobile phone on the OK Morning Rush Thursday, Representative Koluba said the Weah Taylor administration is not seeking the interest of the ordinary citizens as expected. Representative Koluba accused the CDC-led government of funding the senatorial bid of Representative Sir Joseph at the detriment of the Liberian people. He also stressed that President Weah has been in the habit of violating the constitution and tradition of the country. Haitian Central Bank of Liberia Governor Charles Saliv has apologized to the Liberian Senate for failing to appear before that August body on Monday, July 9, 2018 to discuss the worsened state of the economy. The CBL Haitian governor apology was contained in a communication addressed to the Senate on Thursday, citing reason over his failure to attend the sitting. Following his alleged refusal, Senate cited him to appear on Thursday to show cause why he should not be held in legislative contempt. In a communication addressed to the Senate Thursday, Saliv indicated that he will be unable to attend the Thursday's sitting due to a meeting with President George Weah as part of the engagement with the economic management team. Meanwhile, the Senate accepted his excuse and apology, but however recited him to appear this Tuesday along with Finance Minister Samuel Twell to discuss the state of the country's economy. Legislative Press Pool President Musa Cannon has completed a two-day West African Parliamentary Press Cup Symposium and Media Summit in Accra, Ghana. Speaking to reporters in Monrovia Thursday, following his return from the summit, Cannon said the event was focused on the role of parliamentarian journalists on enhancing democracy in the West African sub-region. He indicated that it was the first of its kind for a reporter covering the Liberian legislature to attend such prestigious summit. According to him, other journalists from the sub-region, including members of the parliament, as well as hosts of civil society organizations, were also in attendance. Musa Cannon, however, told reporters that consultations will be held with the ECOWAS parliament in order to ensure that reporters covering the Liberian legislature attend similar training. Sino County Senator Milton Teji has expressed disappointment in the House of Representatives for its failure to act on bills submitted to that body for concurrence. Senator Teji stated that the Senate is yet to receive any update regarding most of its bills submitted to members of the lower house. Speaking during Senate's plenary Thursday, Senator Teji noted most of the crucial bills submitted are denying and as such must be looked into by the leadership of the upper house. Following its disappointment on the matter, Senate Secretary Nabolo Singwe clarified that it is not in the purview of the Senate's plenary to engage the House on the passage of crucial bills, but rather the work of individual senators. Deputy Managing Director of the Liberia Petroleum Refinery Company, Bobby Brown, says the hike in the price of gasoline on the local market has a global change. Bobby Brown told an intellectual gathering Thursday that the supply of oil on the international market has dropped, thereby leaving a huge gap for demand around the world. He added that factors affecting the price of petroleum products are also due to oil-rich countries who, according to him, are encountering challenges in terms of production. Brown mentioned that the pro government is aware of the challenges facing the poor people, but stressed that the LPRC is putting in measures to address this situation. Despite his comment, Liberians continue to cry war over the increase of the price of gasoline and its adverse effect on the transportation fare. Bobby Brown maintained that the LPRC, under the leadership of Madam Yumelin Pearson, will continue its efforts to improve the country's oil and gas sector. The Ministry of Labor has officially launched a hotline which is exclusively intended to get tip-off and complaints of perceived labor violations. Speaking at the launch of the hotline Thursday, the communications consultant at the Ministry of Labor, James Kwabo, said the hotline system would directly receive labor violations through the use of orange number 2255. Kwabo indicated that a similar hotline system has also been set up to enable the public to report suspected human trafficking cases in the country. The National Fisheries and Aquaculture has clamoured a day-long stakeholders meeting with local fish farmers in Banga, Bon County. A release from NAFA says the meeting was held under the auspices of the National Aquaculture and Inland Fisheries Federation, which is a conglomeration of all fish farmers and organizations in Liberia. The release added that the stakeholders meeting was aimed at updating fish farmers on NAFA's current and future plans for the aquaculture subsector. The National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority has also disclosed that a high-power fisheries delegation from the government of Japan will shortly visit Liberia as guest to the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority as part of plans to develop the fisheries and aquaculture sectors of Liberia. The Japanese fisheries delegation visit to Liberia is in an effort to further strengthen bilateral relationship and identify areas of interest for possible collaboration. The planned move by the Japanese government is to consider investing in the Liberian fisheries sector could lead to more job opportunities as well as generate huge revenue for the government through the fisheries sector and related programs. And two members of the opposition collaborating political parties have cautioned the CDC-led government to desist from shifting blame on former President Salif and find solutions to the country's current economic situation. Appearing on the OK Morning Rush Thursday, Daniel Synod of the Labour Party described the government's approach to business community as immature. According to him, the government should take responsibility for the messy economic quandrum. Daniel Sando wants President Weah to be more robust in addressing the economic issues as Liberians remain strangulated. At the same time, Unity Party stalwart and former Assistant Minister of Labor Michael Wah said the Weah administration needs to focus on solving the economic devastation of the country. Wah stressed that the CDC-led government must graduate from its current campaign mood and act accordingly. And that's the news bulletin.
Many thanks, Augustine Bill calling for the news bulletin. Augustine returns here later on to bring you the foreign developments. It's 50 minutes past 6 o'clock. If you're just joining us, you're listening to news net on OKFM 99.5. Within 45 minutes, we bring you developments from Liberia, Africa, and other parts of the world. My name is Trokon Freeman, presenting the top stories. This morning, President Weah to dedicate 2 annexes to the capital as government releases calendar events for Liberia's 171st independence anniversary celebrations, while officially announcing Minister Samuel Toy as national orator. MOE relaxes no graduation for students failing wax regulations. Mandates school principals to proceed with the graduation of all students who sat wax irrespective of sources or failure in the exams. Now, men of integrity, the Senate Committee on Lands, Mines and Energy recommends for confirmation NOCA Board Chair Designate Councillor Charles Gibson, whose nomination was withdrawn due to integrity issue. 419 deal. Representative Yaka Koloba describes Airtel loan deal while accusing government of funding senatorial hope for Sir Joseph's campaign from state resources. And away from Liberia, U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed to help end vicious and violent conflicts on the African continent. Let's now go strictly into the actualities, beginning from the Executive Mansion, where government has released a calendar of events for Liberia's 171st Independence Anniversary celebrations. According to Jarvis Waterspoon, the chief protocol of Liberia, activities marking the official celebrations of the Independence Anniversary will begin on Thursday, July 19, 2018.
As we all know, this is the first independence celebration under the leadership of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Liberia, George Mane Weah. This is why we are here to inform the general public of what will be happening during the independence celebration activities. I will go through the entire calendar of events. On next Thursday is going to be the kickoff of the celebrations, and that will be at 6 p.m. on Thursday, July 19, which will be the Golden Image Awards and Dinner at the Monrovia City Hall on Friday, the 20th of July at 12 noon will be the Thanksgiving and Intercessory Prayer. And this will, the venue is the Coca-Cola Factory Mosque in Painesville. And on Friday of next week will be at 12 o'clock at the Coca-Cola Factory Mosque in Painesville. Sunday, July 22nd at 11 a.m. we will have the Thanksgiving and Intercessory service at the Centennial Memorial Pavilion on Ashford Street, and that is being organized by the Christian community, Liberia Council of Churches, and the guest speaker for that occasion is Archbishop Dr. Isaac S. Winger, General Overseer and Archbishop of the Dominion Christian Fellowship.
The Chief of Protocol of the Republic of Liberia, Ambassador Jarvis Waterspoon. At the same time, Liberia's Cultural Ambassador Juliet Andy has said this year's Independence Day celebrations will kick off with a Golden Image Award and dinner.
We are ready, set to go for the independence. We know that we are faced with challenges, but our independence gave us that zest that we are independent to move forward to progressive development. So with that, I just want to give you, starting with the Golden Image Award. The Golden Image Award will be expecting guests, international guests from La Côte d'Ivoire, Guinea, Ghana, Nigeria, Mali, Europe, USA, and China. And we will honor our nationals that have helped to impact lives and make their contribution that has gone unnoticed in our country. We'll also honor our people from the counties, and they will come to Liberia. They will be treated as we're going to treat the international guests, and they will receive their honor. This year, Golden Image Award will be convened by His Excellency President George Mane Weah, and the former President of the Republic of Liberia is the image of the Golden Image Award, so she will be in attendance.
Liberia's Cultural Ambassador Juliet Andy, she spoke at the Ministry of Information regular press briefing Thursday. Education Minister Ansu Soni has described the current condition of the education sector as a crisis that requires immediate intervention. Speaking at a news conference in Monrovia Thursday, Minister Soni said the government's decision to administer WACs was on the basis of decision made by the immediate past administration. At the same time, Minister Sonin has urged principals of various schools across the country to proceed with the graduation ceremonies of all students who sat the wax examinations.
Yes. The extent to which our education had gone down is almost like an emergency. And when there is an emergency, everyone should go on deck to make sure that that emergency is removed. The was that our students took this gone May, is it? That determination was not made by this government or the Ministry of Education as it sits now. The decision for our students to join the WAS regime was made last year. This is why by the time we became ministers, the students were already in their fourth marking period, many of whom have already been registered to take the WAS. We didn't tell them that it was time for them to take the WAS. But the region have been taking the WAS for a long time now. We should have joined this regime since 2012, I think. They gave us a dispensation, and they have been giving us this dispensation now for the past 4-5 years. So I think it was on the basis of that the past administration decided that it was time to go to WAS. Come what may, we're going to go to WAS. So we are inheriting the WAS issue, and it is too late to draw back. These are exams that the rest of the English-speaking West African countries have been taking all along. We have now put our hands to those plows, and we are not going to turn back. We have to find a way to swim or drown. You cannot join the WAS today, and because the students have difficulties, next year you tell the region we are backing off.
At the same time, Minister Sonin has disclosed plans by the government to construct laboratories in public schools across the country and revisit the curriculum to enable students to select subjects of interest so as to avoid mass failure. The Senate Committee on Lands, Mines and Energy has recommended for confirmation Nokabo Chair Designate Councillor Charles Gibson. Councillor Gibson was earlier nominated to the position of Justice Minister by President George Weah, but the nomination was withdrawn due to integrity issue. Reading the committee's report during plenary discussion on Thursday, the committee said it was pleased with the qualification of the man who failed integrity check to head the board of the National Oil Company of Liberia. The Senate Deputy Secretary Genevieve Massaquoi gives detail on the confirmation report.
The Central Committee on Land Commissioner on confirmation hearing of Honorable Charles Gibson, Chairman Designate Board of Directors, Honorable Christine Hoff Williams, Member Designate, Honorable Christine Harmer, Member Designate, and Honorable Moses C.T. Jabo, Member Designate, one of the National Oil Company of Liberia. Recommendation: the committee having thoroughly examined the nominees through their presentation and answers to questions posed to them, covered evidence by the education, training, and experience, as well as the articulations of policy visions which will positively impact programs and policy of the government. That the nominee have the requisite educational backgrounds and working experiences to effectively and efficiently manage the affairs of the National Oil Company of Liberia, NOCAL.
She is the Deputy Secretary of the Liberian Senate, Genevieve Massaquoi, reading a confirmation report from the Committee on Lands, Mines and Energy. Still at the legislature, Moswara County District Number 10 Representative Yeke Koluba has described the Airtel loan deal as a 419 agreement. Speaking via mobile phone on the OK Morning Rush Thursday, Representative Koluba said the Weah Taylor administration is not seeking the interests of the ordinary citizens as expected.
Thank you, and that is why we're seeking the truth. You can be part of the government and seek the truth. If the government has interest in the people, this government would not be spending 800,000 for the election for Saturday to be elected. So the proper suffering is going to go to $800,000. You understand what I'm saying? That seems very wicked to the Liberian people. That seems very wicked. Look at the U.S. rate right now. You don't want to send up bank governor resign. You're going to put too much pressure on him. The Akara Bay and the other CDC lawmakers put too much pressure on the man. Every day they're bringing something about this man in the house. You look at what I'm impeaching Cabinet Janet. Is that the situation situation, is this the result to be done by infringing somebody? If something in the country, it should be the president of this country. Because he has violated everything in this country. He has respected even in the Brentford. They respected the constitution, they respected the code of conduct, they respected even the market for this law. The president has respected it. You understand what I'm saying? We take up this serious issue and forget to talk. Then people say this and say that. So we will continue talking for the Brent people. You see the Eto loan now, there's nothing to call Eto. That is why some of us did not stand that loan. Because we're not in the interest of the people. It is a 419 loan that came in this country. That's why we did not stand it. 50 days from now, we'll be calling on the Brentford to ask us. We will stand the loan. Where is the loan?
Tough talking Moswara County District and lawmaker Yeke Koliba via speaking yesterday. Acting CBO Governor Charles Saliv has apologized to the Liberian Senate for failing to appear before that August body on Monday, July 19, to discuss the worsening state of the country's economy. The CBO acting governor apology was contained in a communication addressed to the Senate on Thursday, citing reason of his failure to attend and the second. Following his alleged refusal, Senate sacked him to appear on Thursday to show cause why he should not be held in legislative contempt. Here is the reading of the acting CBO governor's apology letter read by the Senate Deputy Secretary Genevieve Massaquoi and the motion by Grand Jide County Senator Alfonso Gay.
Honorable Singbe, I sincerely apologize for my non-appearance on Monday, July 19, 2018, as it was not a deliberate act of defiance that should hold me in contempt to this August body. Given the citation for Thursday, July 12, 2018, for my appearance before plenary, I wish to inform the Honorable Senate that I have been cited by the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, to a meeting he is conducting with the Economic Management Team, the EMT, heads of commercial banks, and major importers today, July 12, 2018, at the office of the President. Thus, this represents my inability to attend the plenary as requested. I hereby avail myself to any subsequent citation at the wish and pleasure of the Honorable Liberian Senate at a later date and time.
I move that earlier communication sent to the Deputy Governor requesting him to show cause why he should not be hearing contempt be dropped.
Grand Jide County Senator Alfonso Gay earlier he listened to the Deputy Secretary of the Liberian Senate, Genevieve Massaquoi. Legislative Press Pool President Musa Kanan has completed a 2-day West African Parliamentary Press Corps Symposium and Media Summit in Accra, Ghana. Speaking to reporters in Monrovia Thursday following his return from the summit, Kanan said the event was focused on the role of parliamentary journalists on enhancing democracy in the West African sub-region.
And we traveled to Ghana for a 2-day symposium and media summit about the role of parliamentarian journalists in enhancing democracy within the West African sub-region. As a president of the Legislative Press Pool, I was opportune to represent all of you to that summit. And at the summit, Legislative Pool, our voices as members of this institution were heard through me as president. At the summit, we have representation from member parliamentarian organizations. We try to foster inter-parliamentarian reporters network. We try to enhance our friendship with other sister nations across us, which is very important, not just from Anglophone countries, also from Francophone countries, because we know the more we spend together as parliamentarian journalists, the better it is for us.
He is the president of the Legislative Press Pool, Musa Kanave, speaking to reporters on Capitol Hill yesterday. The Sano County Senator Meron Tiachi has expressed disappointment in the House of Representatives for his failure to item bills submitted to that body for concurrence. Speaking during the Senate's plenary sitting yesterday, Senator Tiachi noted most of the crucial bills submitted dying as such must be looked into by the leadership of the upper house. Following his disappointment on the matter, Senate Secretary Namlo Sengbe clarified that it is not in the purview of the Senate's plenary to engage the House on the passage of crucial bills, but rather the work of individual senators. Here is Senator Tiachet expressing his disappointment, followed by Namlo Sengbe.
Secretary will identify the location of the bill, but it will require somebody of our level to lead that effort. For maybe Senator Johnson, Senator Gay, one of us can lead the effort, but President is killing us. All the bills we can't get down in the door. Nothing coming back.
Mr. President, pro tempore, members of the Liberian Senate, in accordance with norms of parliamentary procedure, we identify the bills in the committee rooms, but in accordance with your rules, every bill that comes on this floor must have a sponsor. The rules of parliament is that the sponsors should be able to run after their bill, not the plenary again after they are passed. So I would admonish you to encourage the sponsors of those bills to please make a follow-up to the chair of this committee.
Appear not aware of the rules of the Senate Council, not council but made on TJ of Sano County, they had been corrected by the Secretary of the Liberian Senate, Namla Sengwe. The Deputy Managing Director of the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company, LPRC, Bobby Brown, says the hike in the price of gasoline on the local market is a global challenge. Bobby Brown told an intellectual gathering Thursday that the supply of oil on the international market has dropped, thereby leaving a huge gap for demand around the world.
In the United States of America, that affected 19% of the United States oil supply. Because of that Katrina, the price of oil went up by $3. I heard an old man say one time, when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches cold. When oil and gas price is impacted, the consuming nation catch the cold. In addition to the Hurricane Katrina situation, we had in 2008, the price of a barrel of oil reached as far as $136 due to the unrest in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Why? Because they are oil-producing nations.
The Deputy Managing Director of the Liberia Petroleum Refinery Company, PRC, Bobby Brown, was saying the hike in the price of gasoline on the local market is a global challenge. He spoke at an intellectual center here in Monrovia. The Ministry of Labor has officially launched a hotline which is exclusively intended to get tip-off and complaints of perceived labor violations. Speaking at the launch of the hotline Thursday, the communications consultant at the Ministry of Labor, James Kwabo, said the hotline system will directly receive labor violations through the use of orange number 2255.
As part of the ministry's effort for ensuring smooth coordination and communication system with the public, the ministry is pleased to announce to the general public that it has established a hotline system for labor complaints or emergency situations at job site. Also, we want to inform the public that the ministry is doing all that it can to ensure the fight against human trafficking is sustained. Based on this, the ministry also has a hotline system exclusively for trafficking issues. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me restate very clearly that the Ministry of Labor, under the watchful eyes of Chief Honorable Moses Wakoli and his team of deputies and assistant ministers, including directors, are very committed in terms of ensuring a very, very smooth, proactive, and responsive leadership at the level of the Ministry of Labor. For the hotlines, for general complaints or workplace information that you perceive as a violation against your right, we encourage you to call 2255. That's for general complaints. And this number is being assigned through, it's been provided by Orange GSM Company, and there are negotiations ongoing.
is the communications consultant at the Ministry of Labour, James Kwabo Vias, speaking. Two members of the opposition collaborating political parties have cautioned the CDC-led government to desist from shifting blame on former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and find solutions to the country's current economic situation. Appearing on the OK Morning Rush Thursday, Daniel Sano of the Liberty Party and described the government's approach to the business community as immature.
So I think it's a good thing that the government begin to engage the business partner. I think one thing that already exacerbated the situation is the initial approach that the government through the Ministry of Commerce gave to the businesses. I think that tactics by going to business centers, bringing down goods from the shelf on grounds that they were expired product, it was very amateur. That hasn't worked. And when these pronouncements are made, they are very fast to publish them on the executive management website, or the president have met with the Importers Association, all right. But when you publish it, know that you already made a commitment to the public, and you have to follow up on what you said to the public. Since that pronouncement was made by the executive management, the president has talked to the importers of the rice. They agreed to reduce, to drop $2 and $1.50. It hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. That 50 kg is still sold for the same price. It's $15, $14, $14.50, $16, right? So I think the government should actually stop giving excuses. They sat at EFBC yesterday, and that talk show was summer cast on Prime FM and other radio stations around town, and they shifted blame to say that there are people in past government who are printing money and all these conspiracy theories that they have orchestrated to shift the blame to
Daniel Sano is an official of the opposition Liberty Party. Via speaking at the same time, UP stalwart and former Assistant Minister of Labour Michael Wah said the Weah-Taylor administration needs to focus on solving the economic devastation of the country.
So instead of playing the blame game, we need to focus on solving the challenges we have. And I think one thing my brothers from the other side, where we disagree, they still in campaign move. They need to graduate from campaign. I said this because Madam Sirleaf took 4 years to announce that she was going for the second term. CDC took 1 week to tell her they were there for 12 years. And when you open yourself up to campaign move, you open yourself up to attack. Because it means that you are in campaign. But when you open yourself to govern, the people look up to you. Let me be frank with you. Some members of the CDC feel that this is time to, in their words, they can say, pay back, get even with people. That's what they say. Oh, we spent 12 years in opposition. Some of you just running around, you're running to us. That's not the issue. You spent 12 years in opposition, we agree with you, but some of your partisans were incorporated in government because the government failed at the time that they could help provide solutions to some of the challenges we have.
Michael Ward of former governing Unity Party is speaking. Let's now get some of your comments on our Facebook page. The first comment comes from Michael Think Positive Bannon. OKFM, I still can't get it why we Liberians most of the time don't go for things we say. During the press conference that was held at the Monrovia City Hall by the city mayor and committee members to launch the search of an orator for the independence celebration, were in search of a young Liberian between the ages of 18 and 30. My disappointment here is, why should Minister Toy name surface in the entire drama? Is it around the said age? Meanwhile, it is only only in Liberia. I've seen students feel miserably and still celebrating around. And George Xavier Nangwe. Good morning, OKFM. It is good to think before you talk than to talk before you think. Dr. Sorin knew fully well that the decision for Liberian students writing wax was from the old regime. Why did he rush in making a derogatory statement? Anyway, I think it was over anxiety of a new job. The mission of the Ministry of Education was accomplished, and work will be giving private candidates a test for $61. I think our government needs to care for the well-being of its citizens. Vafi J.M. Dukley writes, good morning, OKFM. The MOE took the right decision at this time. We don't holistically shift the blame on the students for the massive failure, but also the inability for the institutions to put in requisite measures. Bravo to Minister Ansu Sorin for the timely decision. And we bring this one from Tito Edward Beslow. Good morning, OKFM. Let me take this time to extend many thanks and appreciation to the Chinese government for the extension work at the capital. Razak Kanan, OKFM, I write from Jamaica Road. Yes, let me admit that I'm frustrated and disappointed in CDC is Minister Toy in the age range of 1835 to 35. Wow. Then why allow children to waste their time when you knew very well you were not going to select them? Okay, FM to a mate. I am just disappointed in the CDC by handpicking Minister Toy to serve as national orator for the July 26th Independence celebration. J. Napoleon McGill. Good morning, OKFM. OKFM, did I hear that Minister Toy is this year orator of our Independence Day celebrations? What a country with unserious and self-seeking individuals. After giving criteria which states that the applicant must be between 18 and 35 years and not above, you will now decide to take an individual who does not meet the criteria set by the very committee set up for the victim because of your selfish and greedy intent. What a shame to the weir and his so-called pro-poor policy. Let's continue with more developments on the program. Maswara County District 8 Representative Akaros Gray says his impeachment proceeding against Justice Javin Cabinet Janet is due to the justice's deliberate abuse of power in the country. Gray said the bill of impeachment against Justice Janet will be submitted to the National Legislature on Tuesday for discussion.
If you don't know today, Justice Janet was rerouted from France to Liberia, and there are grave concerns. Liberia went into France because for human rights abuses he was sent back. Listen to me. Partners are very concerned about those who are on our Supreme Court bench in terms of their records. How do they help our country? That could be a probable, let me use the word, I'm not saying possible. That could also be a probable cause that we could raise that issue also on the legislative floor. But more to that, there are other counts, and I do not want to run with that yet. And fortunately for you, I will always give you the S-brag. So, Holland, if you use your authority and you abuse my people, I will move in. This is not the first time I've done that. The Jalastan, the land issue at Warren, I physically moved in and went there.
Maswara County District 8 Representative Akaros Gray. 4 persons have been arrested in connection to the death of a 66-year-old volunteer classroom teacher in Maryland County. It had been recalled for 4 months ago. A 66-year-old volunteer classroom teacher went missing in the Kola Way district forest for several weeks, whose bones were later found by traditional leaders in June of this year. Our correspondent in the county is Johnny Nangwe. He provides the details.
Last month, the bones of the 66-year-old volunteer teacher that died in Kangwe district in Yokem Belt was found. And according to Solomon Johnny, the commissioner of that place, told us on yesterday that 4 persons were arrested by the traditional people and was actually accused that they killed the 66-year-old teacher, but the police collected them at the same time and took them to the magistrate court in Harper, Maryland County.
Okay, FM's Maryland County correspondent Johnny Nangwe. The leadership of the Kamba Island community has called on District 13 Representative Sir Joseph to assist the community with the construction of their road and a bridge. Madam Roslyn Morris is the head of the group. She has been speaking to OK News.
Kanga Island, we have been having some serious problem when it comes to the road issue. It has been a very serious problem for us. We got other things there like water system. We don't have water, we don't have current, but the main thing we cry for every day is a road issue. And before the election, we have been having the problem. We have been asking our honorable that is there, Sir Joseph, to help us, and he promised that he's going to help us to construct our road. And we have been behind him for some time. And since after the election, we have still been asking him for me. I even met him one-on-one.
Madam Rosalind Morris Vier speaking at this point, we cross over to the Gaston Bill Colley that will bring you a summary in the international developments.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has opened the country's first metro rail service in the capital Abuja, some 8 years after the project was initiated. Mr. Buhari and other dignitaries took a ride from the Abuja metro station to Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. A second line runs between the central business districts to northern neighborhoods. The entire metro system, comprising 290 kilometers, is being built by Chinese firm at a cost of 824 million. Bloomberg News Agency quotes officials as saying it will cover the entire city and will be developed in 6 phases. U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed to help to end vicious and violent conflicts on the African continent. The U.S. is active in counter-terrorism operations and training African troops to fight jihadists in the Sahara. Its comments about Africa's problems came after a Tunisian journalist expressed gratitude for U.S. efforts in North Africa, where various Islamic militant groups operate. The Foreign News.
Thanks, Augustine. Those are foreign developments. We conclude today's presentation of news. Now, OKFM 99.5 and on www.okfm.com. And thanks for listening and thanks for watching as well. But before we go, here are the top stories we've been following in today's presentation of the program. President George Weah to dedicate 2 annexes to the Capitol as government releases calendar of events for Liberia's 171st independence anniversary celebrations, while officially announcing Minister Samuel Toy as orator. MOE relaxes no graduation for students failing wax regulations, mandates school principals to proceed with the graduation of all students who sat wax irrespective of success or failure in the exams. Now, men of integrity, the Senate Committee on Lands, Mines and Energy recommends for confirmation Nuka's board chair designate, Councillor Charles Gibson, whose nomination was withdrawn due to the integrity issue. Forward now to you. Representative Yaket Koliba describes Ayrton loan agreement while accusing government of funding senatorial hopeful Sir Joseph's campaign from state resources with $800,000 and away from Liberia. U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed to help end vicious and violent conflicts on the African continent. The opponents had controls and handled all of the sounds. Augustine Bill Colley was here with the news bulletin and foreign developments. The voice of hope in Plibo, Brenda County, really avails a presentation as well as Truth FM in Sandinkole, Nima County. Next on this broadcast is the OK Morning Rush. Thanks for listening.
The patient's favorite.